Toro Loco Cookers. I got my lovely little 9-year-old assistant here, Katara, and we got this product. I thought it was a really neat product, the pop-up pit. We're trying to see about putting it together, running it through its paces, and just trying to check out what can and can't be done with it. Sounds like a really neat item, and we're going to see how this goes. All right, Dar. Okay, so this is the structure right now. This is the fire pit. Mainly what is the fire pit. If you're to use it just solo. But it also comes with various types of additions, attachments type thing. In this case, we got the grill part, which we are going to use to further put it through its paces, not just testing out various flammable objects and stuff, but also just trying to figure out how well it cooks and well it cooks with different items as well. So. So what we have here, this is the setup with the attachments that you can carry. It's really lightweight. You want to try to pick it up? Super lightweight. It's all aluminum, stainless. It's got the special weave, is what I was told, a weave at the actual bottom part of itself. Just to give an idea, this silver lining down here is a special fabric. From what I'm told, all said and done, only a couple of tablespoons of ash is supposed to actually sift through. Most of it kind of stays in there. I called him up and asked him, and we talked for a while. We're trying to figure out whether it had, I was like, well, wait a minute, what happens with all the ash? Does it choke out? He's like, no, because it's just this wire mesh. It actually just, it breathes so well and goes right through, so it's able to do that. So one of the things I started asking all kinds of questions like, well, what happens when you cook? What happens with that mesh? Does the ash end up kind of just muddying up? What else occurs? So these are things I'm going to be trying to try out. Not to mention, you're not supposed to be using any kind of flammables as far as like lighter fluid and stuff like that. So I'm going to try a handful of other things that we tend to use, especially in barbecue competition and stuff like that, as far as fire starters and that kind of deal. So we'll see how this goes. We got 4 different types of fire starters. We got some tumbleweeds, we've got some Weber cubes, we've got some paraffin stick, and some B&B fire starter, paraffin type cubes, and just some tumbleweeds. So let's see how it goes here. So we got the 4 going right now. Each one tends to heat up at different degrees, burn at different degrees. We got about 580 going on with the paraffin. We got about 560 going on with the B&B charcoal. Got about 700. Let's see, just about 600 to 700. It's going back and forth with the breeze going through with the Weber cube. 700 to 800 variable with the tumbleweed. So tumbleweed being the hottest. Let these burn through, see what they do. And the idea behind all this is that you're going to have a whole lot of oxygen going through this thing, so it burns really hot. So these are starting up pretty quick. Alright, so the tumbleweed pretty much is burnt out. Doesn't look like it messed with it any. The B&B starter, looks like it's okay. Weber cube is pretty much out. It's already cooled to the touch. It's only been maybe a couple of minutes since it's been out. That's the other thing, is because of the design of this thing with all the aluminum stainless, it said that basically once you kind of flush it out or turn it off or whatever, if you're camping out at a park, it turns off pretty quick, and it also gets cold pretty quick. Then over here,
it just burned out.
Alright, so we burned out over here with the paraffin stick. All of them at the end, they were running about between 700 and 800 degrees. As far as starter goes, it doesn't seem like the integrity or anything's messed up with any of it. So it looked like we're okay as far as that goes. Right now we're testing different fuels in this part. I've got some stick of oak going on. I got some B&B hickory lump charcoal going on. I've got some Kingsford, good old Kingsford charcoal. And over here, I've got some self-igniting charcoal, HEB brand self-igniting charcoal. The kind that, even though this is designed and said not to use lighter fluid, I was kind of curious what that stuff that's kind of soaked in lighter fluid, or whatever it is, the binding agent or whatever, see if it had any, messed with the integrity of the mesh itself. So we're going to let this burn out some more, let it get down to coals on all four sides, add a little bit more, and we'll come back around and see how everything looks. Alright, so we got everything burning out pretty well. Wood included. All the wood underneath is already kind of burnt out. Underneath here, we've got, I think it's holding up pretty well. There is hardly any ash underneath it, yet it's breathing really well as well. Hardly any to little, which we'll see later on, ash underneath on the actual heat deflector down there. Again, this was the self-igniting charcoal. This was the Kingsford charcoal. This was the B&B lump, and you got wood that some of it, the small pieces, already burnt out. One thing I did observe right now that was kind of cool, using the gun. I was checking the temperatures all the way around it. These metal bars, these aluminum bars, probably reading about 200, 250 degrees maybe, somewhere in that range. The fire itself, the gun only, this is kind of a cheaper gun. It heat sensor, it only goes up to about 1200. It's maxing out at 1200, so this fire is either 1200 or more than that. But filming underneath, right underneath the mesh, in this gap right here between the shield and the mesh grill, the mesh charcoal holder, it's about maybe 200 to 250 degrees, kind of similar to the temperature of this. And underneath it, temperature wise, I mean, I can actually put my hand underneath all of this. I mean, it's a little uncomfortable, of course, but it's maybe about 120, 140 degrees. So that shield does make a huge difference. So far, hey, really really pretty neat product so far. Alright, so I'm going to go prep some food and we're going to try this out as well and see what different types of food does. I'm just going to mix everything up together and just make one big fire out of it. Alright, thanks. Alright, look at that. Alright, stop laughing, stop laughing.
Oh, can we
Ready now?
redo it?
No, it's good. I can fix it. Ready? Okay. Feel like a cheerleader. Alright. Ready? One more time. So we're going to review this pit in three ways. No, that doesn't sound right. So there's going to be 3 parts to reviewing this pit. That don't sound right.
There are 3 different categories for reviewing this pit.
Better?
3 different ways? And there goes the plane.
I'll do it again right now.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like this. Mushroom
I was
cloud.
afraid of that mark.